I hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin. The mahogany conference table reflected the afternoon light streaming through the windows of Loron Innovations. Quentin Maddox straightened his tie and watched the numbers scroll across his laptop screen. 10 years of his life condensed into profit margins and growth projections. 10 years of building something from almost nothing. The quarterly reports look excellent, Quentin said, his voice steady as he addressed the board. Revenue is up 32% from last year. Our new encryption software has secured contracts with 3 Fortune 500 companies. Delaney Loron, his wife, sat across from him. Her smile never reached her eyes anymore. Well, how that started? Quentin couldn't pinpoint the exact moment, but somewhere between late nights coding and early mornings negotiating deals, her warmth had cooled to something calculated. Yes, the numbers are impressive, Blanche Loron interrupted, her manicured nails tapping against the table. His mother-in-law had a way of making compliments sound like accusations. Though I wonder if we're growing too fast. Sometimes rapid expansion can leave a company vulnerable. Quentin met her gaze. Vulnerable to what? Exactly? Oh, nothing specific. Blanche waved her hand dismissively. Just market forces. Competition. Internal changes. The other board members shifted uncomfortably. Tom Richards from accounting cleared his throat. Mariah Cho from operations studied her notes with sudden intensity. They all felt at the tension that had been building for months. I think what mother means, Delaney said, finally looking directly at Quentin, is that we need to think about the company's future leadership structure. As we grow, roles need to evolve. My role as CEO, Quentin said. That hasn't changed. Of course not, Delaney said quickly. Too quickly. We're just thinking ahead. The meeting continued for another hour. Budgets were approved. Strategies were discussed. But Quentin noticed how Blanche and Delaney exchanged glances whenever major decisions came up. How they seemed to have prearranged positions on every issue. After the others filed out, Quentin remained seated, reviewing his notes. Delaney lingered by the door. You're coming to the gala next week? She asked. Why wouldn't I? She shrugged. Just making sure. It's an important night for the company. For the family. The way she said family made it sound like a threat. Everett Loron lived in a sprawling estate 20 miles outside Charleston. Once the beating heart of Loron Innovations, he'd retreated here after his retirement 3 years ago. Or had he been pushed out? Quentin had never been sure. Quentin found his father-in-law in the study, surrounded by old photographs and dusty ledgers. The man who'd built Loron Innovations from a 2-person startup looked smaller now, grayer, but his eyes remained sharp. Quentin, Everett didn't look up from the photo album in his lap. I wonder when you'd come. You asked to see me. I did. Everett closed the album and gestured to the chair across from him. Bourbon. It's 2 in the afternoon. Perfect time, then. Everett poured 2 glasses anyway, his hands slightly unsteady. You know, I started this company in my garage. Just me and a soldering iron. Blanche thought I was crazy. Quentin accepted the glass, but didn't drink. She came around eventually. Did she? Everett's laugh was bitter. Or did she just see an opportunity? What are you trying to tell me, Everett? The old man leaned forward. My wife and daughter, they're not who you think they are. Oh, they're family, sure. But in their world, family is just another word for leverage. That's a harsh assessment. Is it? Everett's eyes bore into him. Tell me, has Delaney been asking about your shares lately? Has Blanche been suggesting restructuring for the good of the company? Quentin's silence was answer enough. I did something 5 years ago, Everett continued. Something to protect what I built. To protect it from them. He stood, moving to the window. They don't know. They think they're so clever, but they don't know what I did. What did you do? Everett turned back, his expression unreadable. I made sure the company would survive them. That's all you need to know for now. But Quentin, be ready. When they make their move, and they will make their move be ready. You're talking in riddles. Am I? Everett smiled sadly. Check your contracts, son. The real ones. Not the ones they show at board meetings. The ones that matter. Quentin left the estate with more questions than answers. But as he drove back to the city, one thing became clear. The battle for Loron Innovations had already begun. He just hadn't realized he was fighting it. The Magnolia Ballroom sparkled with champagne flutes and fake smiles. Lauron Innovations' quarterly gala always drew Charleston's business elite, but tonight felt different. Quentin noticed how people looked at him, quick glances followed by hurried conversations behind raised hands. "You look handsome," Delaney said, appearing at his elbow. She wore a black dress that made her look like she was attending a funeral. Maybe she was. "You look prepared," Quentin replied. She tilted her head. "For what?" "Whatever speech you're about to give." Her smile was all teeth. "You know me so well." The evening progressed with typical corporate pageantry. Handshakes, small talk, promises of future partnerships. But Quentin felt like a man standing on thin ice, hearing it crack beneath his feet. When Delaney took the stage, the room fell silent. "Good evening, everyone." 10 years ago, Lauron Innovations was just a dream. Today, it's a leader in cybersecurity solutions. She paused for applause. But success requires evolution. It requires hard choices. It requires putting the company's future above personal interests. Quentin's jaw tightened. Here it comes. That's why I'm excited to announce a new era for Lauron Innovations. Under the leadership of the Lauron family, my mother and myself will be implementing a comprehensive restructuring that will position us for the next decade of growth. She never mentioned his name. Not once. 10 years of his work, his vision, his sleepless nights erased in a 5-minute speech. The applause was uncertain, confused. People looked between Delaney on stage and Quentin standing rigid by the bar. He set down his untouched champagne and walked out. "Quentin, wait." Blanche intercepted him in the marble hallway. Her expression was pure ice. "Don't make a scene. I wouldn't dream of it." "Good, because this was always going to happen. You must have known that." "Did I?" She stepped closer, her perfume cloying. "You were useful. We needed your skills, your connections. But this is a family company. You're not family. You were just temporary. I'm Delaney's husband. For now." Blanche's smile was razor sharp. These things have a way of resolving themselves. 20 minutes later, in a private boardroom on the top floor, Quentin faced both women across a glossy table. Papers were spread between them like weapons. "Your shares have been diluted," Delaney explained, her voice clinical. "Through the recent mergers and voting trust amendments, your ownership percentage has dropped below the threshold for board control. The amendments I supposedly agreed to, your signature is on every document." Quentin studied the papers. Forged signatures, backdated agreements, carefully orchestrated corporate manipulation. They've been planning this for months, maybe years. "We're not monsters," Blanche said. "You'll keep your title for now. A generous severance when you decide to pursue other opportunities. We'll even provide a glowing recommendation." How thoughtful. Delaney and Blanche exchanged glances, then broke into smiles. They actually high-fived across the table like college students who'd aced an exam. "It's nothing personal," Delaney said. "It's just business." Quentin reached into his jacket and pulled out a leather folder. He set it on the table with deliberate calm, then turned and walked to the door. "Aren't you going to say anything?" Blanche called after him. "Threaten us? Beg? Something?" Quentin paused at the threshold. "No." He left them with their victory and their papers and their champagne. They were so busy congratulating themselves that they didn't even open the folder he'd left behind. Inside was a single photo. Everett Lauron and Quentin, 5 years ago, shaking hands over a different set of documents 0.5 years earlier rain hammered against the windows of Everett Lauron's home office. Quentin sat across from his father-in-law, reading through the stack of documents for the 3rd time. "You're serious about this," Quentin said. "Dead serious." Everett's hands were steady now, his eyes clear. This wasn't the broken man Quentin would visit years later. This was the entrepreneur who'd built an empire. "I know my wife. I know my daughter. Better than they think I do. Delaney is my wife. You're asking me to. I'm asking you to protect what we've built together." Everett leaned forward. "You've grown this company tenfold in 5 years. You've done more for Lauron Innovations than I ever could. But they don't see it that way. To them, you're an outsider who married in, and you want me to betray them." "No." Everett's voice was firm. "I want you to save them from themselves. Their greed will destroy this company. They'll sell it off piece by piece to the highest bidder, take their profits, and move on to the next conquest. Quentin looked at the contracts again. A holding trust. 51% ownership transferred quietly, secretly. Ironclad provisions that couldn't be diluted or amended without his explicit consent. Why not just confront them directly? Quentin asked. Because they're my family. Pain flickered across Everett's face. I can't bring myself to destroy them, but I can stop them from destroying everything else. This way, when they make their move, you'll be protected. The company will be protected. And if they never make a move, if I'm wrong about them, then no harm done. The trust remains dormant. You and Delaney live happily ever after. Everett's smile was sad. But we both know that's not going to happen, don't we? Quentin signed the papers. Each signature felt like drawing a weapon he hoped never to use. One more thing, Everett said as he locked the documents in his safe. When the time comes, you'll need allies. Mariah in operations, she's loyal to the company, not to them. Luther Keene in accounting sees everything, says nothing, but he keeps records. And Hank Barrett down in the warehouse? He knows where all the bodies are buried. You've thought of everything. I've had years to think. Everett poured 2 bourbons. This time, Quentin drank. Promise me something. When this is over, don't let them destroy you too. Don't let them turn you into something you're not. What do you mean? I mean, don't become like them. Cold. Calculating. Willing to sacrifice anyone for profit. Everett raised his glass. To staying human in an inhuman business. Present-day Quentin stood in his home office, remembering that rainy night as he unlocked his private safe. The documents were still there, exactly as Everett had prepared them. The ghost deal that would save everything. His phone buzzed. A text from Mariah. Heard about the gala. I'm sick of their games. What do you need? The warehouse at Loron Innovations hummed with activity at 6 in the morning. Forklifts moved between towering shelves while workers prepped the day's shipments. Quentin found Hank Barrett supervising the loading dock, clipboard in hand, coffee stains on his shirt. Mr. Maddox. Hank didn't seem surprised to see him. Heard you might be stopping by. Did you? Mariah called. Said you might need someone who actually knows how this place runs. Hank spat tobacco juice into a cup. About time someone stood up to them. You know what they're planning. I know they've been moving inventory off the books, setting up shell companies, preparing for something big. Hank led Quentin to his cluttered office. Been keeping my own records. Figured someone might need them someday. Hank pulled out a battered notebook filled with dates, shipment numbers, discrepancies. They think because I wear steel toes and drink bad coffee, I don't notice things. But I've been here 15 years. I notice everything. An hour later, Quentin met Luther Keene at a diner downtown. The accountant looked like he hadn't slept, his usually perfect suit wrinkled, his hands shaking around his coffee cup. They made me forge your signatures, Luther said without preamble. Threaten my job, my pension. I have kids in college, Mr. Maddox. I couldn't. I'm not here to blame you, Luther. I'm here to fix this. Luther's shoulders sagged with relief. I kept copies of everything. The real documents and the forged ones. I knew this day would come. Can you testify to what they did? Yes. Luther's voice grew stronger. I'm tired of being their puppet. Tired of watching them gut the company we built. The last stop was Mariah's apartment. She answered the door in workout clothes, already knowing why he was there. I never trusted her, Mariah said, leading him inside. Delaney. Something about her was always off. Like she was playing a role, loving wife, dedicated executive. But her eyes were always calculating something. I need your help documenting the operational changes they've made. The restructuring that's weakened our core business. Already started. Mariah handed him a thick folder. Every decision that prioritized short-term profit over long-term stability. Every qualified person they pushed out to make room for their cronies. It's all there. Why help me? You could lose everything. Mariah's expression hardened. Because I'm tired of watching them turn our work into their personal piggy bank. Because integrity still means something. And because... She paused. Because you're the only executive who ever treated the operations team like we mattered. Quentin looked at the evidence his allies had gathered. Financial fraud, operational sabotage, systematic destruction of the company's foundation, all meticulously documented. We'll need a lawyer, Mariah said. A good one. Someone they can't buy or intimidate. I know just the person. Nadine Rivas's law office occupied the top floor of a converted bank building. Everything about it screamed power, from the marble floors to the intimidating receptionist. But Nadine herself was surprisingly casual, feet up on her desk, reviewing Quentin's documents while eating takeout. "This is beautiful," she said, holding up the trust agreement. "Absolutely beautiful." Everett was paranoid, but he was also brilliant. "This is airtight. So I have control. You've had control for 5 years. They just didn't know it." Nadine set down her chopsticks. "But owning the company and proving they committed fraud are two different things. We need them to incriminate themselves." "How?" "You said they think they've won, right? People who think they've won get sloppy. They brag." Nadine smiled like a shark. "Set up a meeting. Tell them you want to negotiate a peaceful exit. I'll make sure the room is properly prepared." 3 days later, Quentin sat in conference room A at Loron Innovations. Hidden cameras covered every angle. Sensitive microphones captured every whisper. Nadine monitored everything from a van outside. Delaney and Blanche entered like conquering heroes. Delaney had already moved into Quentin's office. Blanche wore a new diamond necklace, probably bought with company funds. "Quentin," Delaney said, sitting down with exaggerated grace. "I'm glad you're being reasonable about this." "I try to be reasonable." "Good. Then you'll understand our offer." Blanche slid a document across the table. "Sign away any claims to the company. Accept your severance, and we all move on. Clean and simple." "And if I don't?" "Then things get messy," Delaney said. "Divorce proceedings, allegations about your management. We might even discover some financial irregularities in your departments. Irregularities you'd manufacture." Blanche laughed. "Manufacture? Such an ugly word. Let's say, interpret creatively, like you interpreted my signatures on those dilution documents." The women exchanged glances. "I don't know what you mean," Delaney said carefully. "Sure you do." Quentin leaned back. "Luther told me everything. How you threatened him. How you made him forge my signatures. How you've been planning this for over a year." "Luther's word against ours," Blanche said. "A disgruntled employee trying to save his own skin." "What about Hank's records of your off-the-books inventory moves? Or Mariah's documentation of how you've been sabotaging operations?" Delaney's composure cracked. "Those people work for us. We'll fire them all." "No," Quentin said quietly. "They work for me. You don't have any power here." Blanche slammed her hand on the table. "We took it all. Every share, every vote, every scrap of control." "Did you?" Quentin pulled out his phone, sending a pre-written text. "Tell me, when did you start planning this? Was it before or after I grew the company's value by 300%? "The moment you married her," Blanche spat. "You think we'd let some nobody programmer keep what belongs to us? This company has the Loron name. It belongs to the Loron family." "Interesting definition of belonging," Quentin said. "We earned this." Delaney's mask finally slipped completely. "Do you know what it was like growing up in my father's shadow? Watching him pour everything into this company while we got scraps? And then you come along, and suddenly you're the golden boy, his real child. So you decided to take it all." "We decided to take what was ours," Blanche corrected. "And we did. Your signatures are on everything. Legal enough to hold up in court, even if they're not exactly authentic." "You mean forged?" "Prove it," Delaney challenged. "Go ahead. Hire lawyers. We'll bury you in legal fees. Drag it out for years. By the time anything gets resolved, the company will be sold, and we'll be living in Europe." "Is that the plan? Sell Loron Innovations?" "Why not?" Blanche shrugged. "Technova offered us $500 million. Cash deal. We'll be set for life. The employees won't be." "Not our problem," Delaney said coldly. "Business is business. You taught me that. I never taught you to destroy people's lives for profit." "No, you just did it without thinking about it. At least we're honest about our greed." Quentin stood. "Thank you for your honesty. It's been illuminating." "Where are you going?" Delaney demanded. "We're not done here." "Yes, we are. My lawyer will be in touch." "You're bluffing," Blanche said, but uncertainty crept into her voice. You don't have anything, don't I? Quentin paused at the door. By the way, you might want to check who actually owns the building you're sitting in. Turns out the holding company that bought it 5 years ago has an interesting ownership structure. He left them scrambling for their phones, calling lawyers, demanding answers. In the van outside, Nadine was grinning. Did you get it all? Quentin asked. Every word. Every beautiful, self-incriminating word. She pulled off her headphones. They just confessed to fraud, forgery, and conspiracy. On high-definition video. What's next? Now. Nadine's grin widened. Now we go to war? And thanks to them, we have all the ammunition we need. Monday morning arrived with unseasonable warmth. Quentin stood outside Laurent Innovations at 7 a.m., watching employees stream through the doors. They had no idea their world was about to change. You ready for this? Nadine asked, joining him on the sidewalk. Behind her, a van full of security personnel and legal officials waited. I've been ready for 5 years. They're already here. Saw their cars in the executive lot, probably planning their victory lap. Quentin straightened his tie, the same one he'd worn to his first day at Laurent Innovations, when it was just 20 people in a cramped office. Let's go. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt both endless and too quick. Quentin could hear his heartbeat, steady and strong. No anger, no revenge fantasies. Just cold, clear purpose. They found Delaney and Blanche in the main conference room, champagne glasses already in hand despite the early hour. Sales contracts spread across the table. The Technova deal, ready for signatures. Quentin, Delaney's voice pitched high with surprise. What are you doing here? Security should have. Revoked your access, Blanche finished, setting down her champagne. We sent the memo Friday. Funny thing about memos, Quentin said, entering the room with Nadine and 2 security guards. They only work if you have the authority to send them. Get out, Blanche commanded, or we'll have you arrested for trespassing. Arrested? Nadine laughed. That's rich. Speaking of arrests, she set a tablet on the table and hit play. The hidden camera footage filled the screen. Delaney and Blanche watched their own faces as they confessed to forgery, fraud, and conspiracy. Your signatures are on everything. Legal enough to hold up in court, even if they're not exactly authentic. Nadine paused the video on Blanche's smirking face. That's my favorite part. Really captures the essence of criminal confession. The color drained from both women's faces. Delaney reached for the tablet, but Nadine pulled it back. That's illegally recorded, Blanche stammered. You can't use that. South Carolina is a one-party consent state, Nadine said cheerfully. Mr. Maddox consented to recording his own conversation. Perfectly legal. Unlike forging signatures, which carries up to 10 years in prison. You set us up, Delaney whispered. No, you set yourselves up. I just provided the rope. Quentin pulled out the leather folder he'd carried for 5 years. The ghost deal. He spread the documents on the table, covering their sales contracts. Everett saw this coming, he said quietly. 5 years ago, he transferred 51% ownership to a holding trust. My trust. Every share you thought you stole? They were never yours to take. Blanche sank into a chair. That's impossible. Everett would never betray his family. Quentin finished. He didn't. He saved you from yourselves. Or tried to. This is fake, Delaney insisted, but her voice shook. You fabricated these documents. Call your lawyers. Have them verify the filing dates, the notarizations, the chain of custody. Quentin nodded to the security guards. While you're doing that, these gentlemen will escort you out. You can't do this. Blanche's composure finally shattered completely. Her voice cracked, tears starting to form. This is our company. Our name is on the building. Your name, not your company. Not anymore. The reality hit Blanche like a physical blow. Her shoulders shook as tears streamed down her face. Everett, my own husband. How could? He loved you, Quentin said. But he loved what he built more. And he knew you'd destroy it. Blanche broke down completely, sobbing into her hands. The iron matriarch reduced to a broken woman who'd lost everything to her own greed. Delaney stared at the documents, then at Quentin. Her face went from pale to white to almost gray. No, No, this isn't happening. It's happening. We're married. The words tore from her throat. Doesn't that mean anything? It meant everything. Until you decided it meant nothing. Delaney's legs gave out. She collapsed into a chair, tears falling freely now. I can explain. Please, let me explain. My mother, she pushed me. She said if we didn't take control, you'd push us out eventually. She said what you wanted to hear. What justified what you already planned to do. That's not true. Delaney sobbed, mascara running down her cheeks. I loved you. Part of me still. Don't. Quentin's voice cut like ice. Don't insult us both with lies. The security guards moved forward. One helped Blanche to her feet. She seemed to have aged 20 years in 20 seconds. The other waited for Delaney. Please, Delaney begged, reaching for Quentin. Please don't do this. We can work it out. Counseling. Therapy. Anything. The only therapy you'll be getting is in a federal prison. Quentin. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. I'm your wife. You were my wife. You became my enemy the moment you forged my signature. The guards escorted them out, Blanche stumbling, supported on both sides, tears still streaming. Delaney looked back one last time, her face a mask of devastation and disbelief. This isn't over, she managed between sobs. Yes, Quentin said quietly. It is. Within an hour, word spread through the building. Employees gathered in confused clusters, whispering about security escorting the Lawrence out. Some cheered, quietly Blanche and Delaney hadn't been well-liked. Others worried about their jobs. Quentin called an all-hands meeting in the main floor auditorium. 500 employees filled the space, nervous energy crackling through the crowd. I'll keep this brief, Quentin began, standing at the podium where Delaney had announced her new era just days ago. As of this morning, I've resumed full control of Loron Innovations. The proposed sale to Technova is canceled. Your jobs are safe. The relief in the room was palpable. Someone started clapping. Soon the entire auditorium erupted in applause. There will be changes, Quentin continued when the noise died down. We'll be conducting a full audit. Some people who enabled the previous leadership's actions will be leaving. But for those who've worked honestly, who've built this company with your dedication and integrity, you have nothing to fear. Mariah stood in the front row, tears in her eyes. Hank gave a thumbs up from the back. Luther Keene looked like a man rescued from drowning. After the meeting, Quentin toured the building. His office, Delaney's office, for all of 3 days still smelled like her perfume. He opened the windows, letting in fresh air. Sir, his assistant knocked on the door. The prosecutors are here. They need your statement. For the next 6 hours, Quentin laid out everything. The forged documents, the financial manipulation, the conspiracy to defraud shareholders. The prosecutors, 2 sharp young attorneys who smelled blood in the water, took notes and made promises. With the video evidence and witness testimonies, this is a slam dunk, one said. They'll be looking at serious time. Good. You know, the other prosecutors said carefully, sometimes in cases involving spouses, there's an opportunity for leniency if. No leniency. No deals. They made their choices. That night, Quentin stood in his empty house. Delaney's things were still everywhere, her robe on the bathroom door, her coffee mug in the sink. He'd have to pack it all up, ship it to wherever she ended up. His phone rang. Everett. I heard, the old man said without preamble. I'm sorry it came to this. You warned me. I hope I was wrong. Despite everything, they're still my family. They were my family too. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Everett spoke again. What will you do now? Run the company. Build it bigger. Make sure their betrayal meant something. Don't let it make you cold, Quentin. Don't become them. I won't. Quentin looked at his wedding ring, then pulled it off and set it on the counter. But I won't forget either. 6 months passed. Loron Innovations thrived under Quentin's renewed leadership. The stock price doubled. New contracts poured in. The employees who'd feared for their jobs now worked with renewed purpose. Quentin had just finished a board meeting, a real one, with board members who actually cared about the company when his assistant handed him an envelope. This came through the lawyers, she said carefully. From a federal facility. Quentin recognized Delaney's handwriting immediately. Part of him wanted to throw it away unread. But curiosity won. He opened it in the privacy of his office. "Quentin, I know you probably won't read this. Or if you do, you'll tear it up. But I need to try. Prison is not what I expected. There's a lot of time to think, to realize how far I fell, how much I lost, why mother still insists we did nothing wrong. She spends her days planning appeals that will never work. But I know the truth. We betrayed you. We betrayed everything that I told myself it was business, that you would have done the same eventually. But that was a lie I needed to believe. You would never have destroyed us the way we tried to destroy you, that I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know that's impossible. I'm just asking for understanding, maybe. My mother raised me to see the world as a war where only the ruthless survive. She taught me that love was weakness and trust was stupidity. You taught me different. For a few years, I almost believed it, almost became someone better. But when push came to shove, I reverted to what I knew. What she'd programmed into me since birth, that's not an excuse. Just an explanation that I loved you. In my broken way, I really did love you. I'm sorry that wasn't enough. That Delaney Quentin read the letter twice. Each word carefully chosen, each sentence crafted for maximum emotional impact. Even now, locked in a federal prison, she was trying to manipulate him till he walked to the fireplace in his office, a luxury addition he'd installed after taking back control. The letter curled and blackened in the flames. Delaney's words turning to ash. His phone buzzed. Another text from the prosecutors. Blanche was trying to negotiate a plea deal, offering information about other financial crimes in exchange for reduced sentences. Quentin typed back, "No deals." He turned to the window, looking out at the Charleston skyline. Somewhere in a federal facility, his ex-wife was learning that actions had consequences. That betrayal had a price. That a knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Mariah entered with a stack of proposals. "The new expansion plans," she said, setting them on his desk. "We could triple our market share in 2 years. Ambitious, but achievable, with the right leadership." She paused. "You know, the employees see you differently now. Not just as a boss, but as someone who fought for them, protected them. I protected the company. Same thing in the end." Mariah headed for the door, then turned back. "Oh, Luther wanted me to tell you he's teaching a business ethics course at the community college now, using our story as a case study. The importance of keeping good records and standing up to corruption." After she left, Quentin picked up the expansion proposals. The future of Loron Innovations laid out in charts and projections. A future built on integrity instead of greed. That he signed the first proposal, then reached for his desk drawer. Inside, next to the ghost deal documents he kept as a reminder, lay a new set of corporate bylaws. He'd spent weeks crafting them with Nadine. The new structure made Loron Innovations a trust-owned company. No single shareholder could ever again accumulate enough power to gut it. No family dynasty could treat it as their personal piggy bank. The company would outlive them all, protected by the very structure of its ownership. Quentin signed the bylaws with the same pen he'd used to sign Everett's ghost deal 5 years ago. The last signature he'd ever need to protect what he'd built. His voiceover echoed through the empty office. "Some people think power is what you take, but real power is what you protect. What you build that lasts beyond any one person's greed or ambition." He set down the pen and looked out at the city again. Somewhere, Delaney and Blanche were learning that their definition of power had led them to ruin. But here, in the company they'd tried to steal, real power was at work. The power to create, to grow, to protect those who deserve protection. The sun set over Charleston, painting the sky in shades of gold and amber. Quentin worked late, as he always did, building something that would last, building something worth protecting.